We all know them. They are the person in the room who commands the spotlight, the friend who dominates every conversation with tales of their achievements, the colleague who exudes a supreme, unshakable confidence and acts as if the world not only revolves around them, but should. This is the classic overt narcissist. You see them, you recognize the grandiosity, the entitlement, the constant need for applause. But have you ever stopped to ask the most important question? Not what they are, but why they are. This video is not just another list of traits. We are going on a psychological excavation. We are going to deconstruct the mask they present to the world, dig deep into the hidden insecurities beneath, and, most importantly, travel back to the childhood origins that forged this personality. This is the definitive analysis of how an overt narcissist is made. To understand the why, we must first intimately understand the what. The overt narcissist's personality is a fortress built of 4 key components. First, and most famously, is the core engine, the grandiose sense of self-importance. This isn't just high self-esteem, it is a pervasive, fantastical belief in their own superiority. They genuinely believe they are special, unique, and destined for greatness, often associating only with other high-status people or institutions. Imagine a colleague in a team meeting. While everyone else discusses the project, this person finds a way to reroute the entire conversation back to a minor success they had 3 years ago, speaking as if it single-handedly saved the company. They aren't just proud of this, they genuinely believe it makes them fundamentally more intelligent and capable than everyone else at the table. This is their baseline reality. But this engine needs fuel. This brings us to the second component, the insatiable need for narcissistic supply. Narcissistic supply is the psychological lifeblood of the narcissist. It is constant praise, admiration, attention, and validation. They are obsessed with their public image, not for its own sake, but because they need that external validation to sustain their fragile self-worth. Think of it like a performer who never leaves the stage. They are addicted to the applause. In a social setting, this is the person who will hijack a story about your bad day and turn it into a 20-minute monologue about how they handled a much worse day with incredible grace. They fish for compliments, steer conversations back to their strengths, and meticulously curate their social media to reflect a life of perfection. They need to see their specialness reflected back at them at all times. When you live in this fantasy of superiority, and you are addicted to praise, a third component naturally develops. The weapon, a profound lack of empathy and exploitation. Overt narcissists view other people in purely functional terms. You are not a person with feelings, you are a tool. You are either a source of supply, an admirer, an extension of their greatness, a trophy partner, or an obstacle. Because they cannot, or more accurately, will not recognize or value the feelings and needs of others, they become highly manipulative. Let's say you are in a relationship with one. You might be sick, needing care. The overt narcissist may initially seem concerned, but it quickly becomes clear their real frustration is that your illness is an inconvenience to them. It's boring. It's not about them. They will grow impatient, dismiss your feelings, and demand to know when you'll be back to normal so you can resume your primary function, paying attention to them. They will borrow money with no intention of repaying it, or steal an idea from a colleague and present it as their own without a flicker of guilt. Why would they feel guilty? In their mind, their superiority entitled them to it. This leads directly to the fourth and final piece of the mask, the worldview of entitlement and arrogance. Entitlement is the firm expectation of special treatment. It's the belief that rules don't apply to them. They expect automatic compliance with their wishes, and they are openly arrogant and demeaning to anyone they see as inferior. This is the person who cuts the line at the coffee shop because their time is obviously more valuable. This is the boss who takes the best parking spot, even though it's reserved for someone else, simply because they are the boss. They will be charming and charismatic to superiors, people they see as valuable, but contemptuous and dismissive to the waiter, the janitor, or the junior employee. So, this is the mask: grandiose, attention-addicted, non-empathetic, and supremely entitled. It is a very convincing and very exhausting performance. But it is just a performance. And now we're going to look at what it's designed to hide. The single greatest misconception about the overt narcissist is that they love themselves. This could not be further from the truth. What you see as supreme self-love is, in reality, a complex and desperate psychological defense mechanism. At the absolute center of the narcissist's psyche is not superiority, but a terrified aversion to vulnerability, weakness, and shame. Their entire, elaborate personality structure is designed to avoid, at all costs, ever feeling small, insignificant, or flawed. Beneath the glittering mask of "I am the best" is a cold, dark void. It is a profoundly fragile and insecure self-esteem. This is the great paradox. They must believe they are perfect because they have no stable, internal sense of self-worth. They have no anchor. They are 100% dependent on external validation, on you believing their fantasy, because they have no ability to validate themselves. So, what happens when that fantasy is threatened? What happens when someone challenges them, criticizes them, or simply fails to be impressed? This is when we see the cracks in the armor. This is when we witness narcissistic rage. Narcissistic rage is an explosive, disproportionate reaction to a perceived narcissistic injury, any event that punctures their bubble of perfection. Let's play out a scenario. An overt narcissist gives a presentation at work. They believe it was brilliant, a masterpiece. They expect applause. But then, a colleague offers a mild, constructive critique. "That was a good point," the colleague says, "but have you considered this data?" To a healthy person, this is feedback. To the narcissist, this is an attack. It is a declaration of war. You have just told them they are not perfect. You have exposed them to the very feeling of inadequacy they have built their entire life to avoid. Their reaction will be terrifyingly intense. They might explode in a torrent of verbal abuse, demeaning the colleague's intelligence, career, and even their personal life. "How dare you? You have no idea what you're talking about. You are a nobody." Or it might be a cold, calculated rage. They might say nothing and then spend the next 6 months systematically undermining that colleague, spreading rumors and sabotaging their work. This rage is the desperate, terrified lashing out of a psyche that has just been exposed to its deepest fear. The fear of being average, the fear of being flawed, the fear of being worthless. This mask of grandiosity is not a sign of strength. It is the rigid, brittle armor protecting an inner void. We are about to move into the final and most crucial part, the how. How does a child's mind learn to build such a desperate defense? If you are finding this psychological breakdown valuable and you want more deep dives into the topics that shape our world, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon. It ensures you won't miss our future investigations. But how? How does this void form in the first place? The answer is found in their first ever relationships. A narcissist is not born, they are made. While genetics may play a role in temperament, the research overwhelmingly points to specific formative experiences in early childhood. The personality we've just dissected is a rigid, deeply ingrained adaptation to that early environment. It is a survival strategy that becomes a permanent, dysfunctional reality. There are two primary pathways, two blueprints that can forge an overt narcissist. The first and most supported theory for overt narcissism is the social learning theory, or parental overvaluation. This is the child who is put on a pedestal. Imagine a little boy. His parents treat him as fundamentally more special, more talented, and more important than every other child. He is told he is a genius. He is told he is handsome. He is told he is destined for greatness. This isn't just healthy encouragement, this is overvaluation. It is praise that is excessive, unearned, and, critically, conditional. This environment is characterized by what psychologists call overgratification. The child's every desire is met. They face no realistic boundaries. They are never told no. They are shielded from all failure and disappointment. If the child throws a tantrum, they are given what they want. If they lose a game, the parents blame the referee or the unfair rules. If they are mean to another child, their behavior is excused. He's just high-spirited. The other child was probably just jealous. What is this child learning? He is learning, with 100% consistency, that he is the center of the universe. He internalizes this wildly inflated view of himself. He learns that he is superior and deserves special privileges. But more importantly, look at what he is not learning. He is not learning empathy because he is never required to consider anyone else's feelings. He is not learning resilience because he is never allowed to fail and learn to pick himself back up. And he is not learning that love can be unconditional. He learns that love and praise are transactional. He only receives them when he is performing his specialness. This child grows up, but his emotional development is frozen. He enters the adult world and is shocked to discover that the world does not, in fact, revolve around him. He is horrified when bosses criticize him, when peers don't praise him, and when potential partners don't instantly adore him. He is, in effect, a 30-year-old man with the emotional tools of a 3-year-old, demanding that the world treat him like the god his parents always told him he was. This is the blueprint of the overvalued child. But there is another, darker path. This is the psychoanalytic view, or the trauma defense blueprint. This path is not built on a pedestal, but in a cold, critical, or neglectful environment. Imagine a different child, a little girl. She is not overpraised. Instead, she is constantly criticized. She is told she is not good enough. Her achievements are dismissed. Her feelings are ignored. Her parents are cold, demanding, or perhaps themselves narcissistic. This child experiences a profound and unbearable level of childhood shame, worthlessness, and trauma. She lives with the constant, terrifying feeling of, I am bad, I am worthless, I am unlovable. This feeling is a psychological death sentence. The child's mind cannot survive it. And so, to protect itself, the mind invents a defense. It builds a fantasy bubble, a new, false self. This is the birth of the grandiose self. This false self is the exact opposite of how the child truly feels. The inner self feels worthless, so the false self is perfect. The inner self feels weak, so the false self is all-powerful. The inner self feels unlovable, so the false self is supremely desirable. This grandiose identity is not a belief, it is a shield. It is a rigid, desperate defense mechanism to protect the child from the unbearable pain of their own reality. This child grows up and must defend this false self at all costs. She must demand admiration and obedience, not because she believes she's earned it, like the overvalued child, but because that admiration is the only thing patching the cracks in her shield. Any criticism isn't just feedback. It's a terrifying reminder of the worthlessness she has spent her entire life trying to escape. Her narcissistic rage is the primal scream of, "You cannot send me back there. I am not worthless. I am perfect." So you see, whether the child was put on a pedestal or thrown into a pit, the result can be the same. One child was taught, "You are a god, and the world must worship you." The other child was so broken that their mind had to invent a god to hide behind, and now they must force the world to worship it. Both are completely disconnected from their true selves. Both are emotionally stunted, incapable of genuine empathy, and trapped in a fantasy. The overt narcissist's personality is the rigid, final, and tragic result of a childhood that, in one way or another, destroyed their ability to build a healthy, authentic self. Today, we have pulled back the curtain. We started by examining the mask, the grandiosity, the entitlement, the bottomless need for supply, and the chilling lack of empathy. Then, we looked for the cracks, and we found the hidden insecurity, a fragile, hollow core that is terrified of vulnerability and shame, and which defends itself with a terrifying rage. And finally, we uncovered the blueprints. We saw how the overvalued child is taught to be a narcissist, internalizing a fantasy of their own superiority. And we saw how the traumatized child is forced to invent a narcissistic fantasy as a desperate shield against a world of pain. Understanding this psychology is not an excuse for the overt narcissist's often destructive and hurtful behavior. It does not mean you should tolerate it, but it is the key to truly understanding it. It allows us to see that their behavior is not a product of genuine self-love, but of a profound developmental failure to ever build one. It clarifies, once and for all, the vast, tragic difference between healthy, resilient self-esteem and the brittle, defensive, and desperate grandiosity of the overt narcissist. This is a complex subject, and these patterns show up in many different ways. We want to hear from you. Have you ever encountered someone who fits this profile? What observations have you made? Share your stories and insights in the comments section below. Your experience adds value to this entire community. Thank you for watching.